Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Israel.
And I'm Ephraim Graham. The government shutdown enters its third week today. Now the specter of the debt ceiling deadline looms larger, just 4 days away. Across the country, patience is wearing thin as lawmakers continue to fight for advantage. Senate leaders are taking charge of negotiations to end the government shutdown and avoid a default. But so far, they too have failed to agree on a deal.
We're in a free fall as Republicans, but Democrats are not far behind. And after listening to all of us talk now, I probably understand why 60% of Americans want to vote all incumbents out.
Republicans are no longer pushing to defund or change Obamacare. But now Democrats are trying to end the automatic sequester spending cuts as part of any deal.
So the plan would be open up the government immediately for a period of time before the sequester hits, and then have serious discussions where we might be able to undo the sequester.
If you break the spending caps, you're not going to get any Republicans in the Senate.
Republicans say undoing the sequester cuts would increase spending, a major step in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, the American people's patience is wearing thin over the politics of the shutdown. Hundreds of protesters calling themselves the Million Vet March removed barricades at several memorials and then marched over to the gates of the White House.
You work for us! You work for us!
There's no middle ground, it seems like. That's the trouble. So the left hand doesn't want to talk to the right hand.
Fire them all.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz joined the crowd. He asked why the government was spending money during the shutdown to erect barricades to keep veterans out of memorials.
Our veterans should be above politics. Enough games.
Several protesters carried signs reading, "Impeach Obama." Police got involved, pushing the crowds back away from the White House gate. World finance leaders are pressuring the United States to resolve the budget stalemate. About 300 members of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund met Sunday, but the U.S. dominated the conversation. World leaders warned the United States must raise its debt ceiling and reopen its government or risk, quote, massive disruption the world over.
They all came together to talk about the U.S. monetary policy and its impact on emerging market economies and how they should well prepare for that. And then they found out that the debt ceiling was the issue. They found out that the government had shut down and that there was no remedy in sight. So it really completely transformed the meeting in the last few days.
Still, some leaders said they believe the impasse will be resolved before Thursday's default deadline.
Millions of Social Security recipients are expecting historically small increases in their benefits for the second year in a row. Nearly 58 million retirees, disabled workers, spouses, and children get Social Security benefits. Preliminary figures suggest a less than 2% increase in next year's benefits, one of the lowest rates since automatic adjustments were adopted back in 1975. Exact numbers are not known yet because the Labor Department hasn't released its September report.
Evangelical voters have picked Tea Party Senator Ted Cruz as the winner of the New Values Voters presidential straw poll. Social conservatives voted this weekend at the Family Research Council's annual summit. Cruz boosted his standing with his recent marathon Senate filibuster against Obamacare.
None of us know what's going to happen on this Obamacare fight right now. In my view, the House of Representatives needs to keep doing what it's been doing, which is standing strong.
Conservatives picked Cruz by an overwhelming 42% as their top choice for the Republican presidential candidate in 2016. Dr. Ben Carson and former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum came in second with about 13%. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and Florida Senator Marco Rubio placed fourth and fifth. Cruz also attacked the Obama administration for threatening to punish people of faith, like American troops who share their faith and Christian business owners who oppose the Obamacare birth control mandate. And FRC President Tony Perkins quoted the Declaration of Independence to remind the government about who really is in charge of America.
Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. They don't have our consent to take our freedoms and our liberties, and that message will be sent this week.
Religious liberty, abortion, and the sanctity of marriage were other hot-button issues talked about throughout the weekend.
A new transgender law has sparked a public uproar in California. It allows students with gender identity confusion to access restrooms used by the opposite gender. As David Brody reports, efforts are underway to repeal it before it takes effect in January.
California isn't exactly known as a conservative stronghold, and now liberal lawmakers are pushing even further. Democratic Governor Jerry Brown just signed a law stating that transgender students can choose which restrooms they want to use and whether they want to play boys or girls sports. LA and San Francisco already took this action, but it's the first time a transgender law like this made it to the state level. It's all cloaked under the guise of fairness.
No student can learn if they feel like they have to hide who they are at school or if they are singled out for unequal treatment.
Supporters say it's important that transgender students feel comfortable and not isolated.
It's going to take away that extra pressure of not knowing where to go and not knowing what classes you're going to be in and not being treated as the same as all the other boys or girls in your school.
The Democrats control the state capitol agenda up here in Sacramento, but there is one guy inside, Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, a conservative Republican who has said he's had enough. He's pulling his kid out of school.
The public schools are no longer interested in education. They become government indoctrination centers.
So the assemblyman from Southern California made a strong choice.
I pulled my 13-year-old son out of school. He is not going back to the junior high school for more of this social indoctrination. To me, they ought to be talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic, not sexual identity politics.
And he's not the only one who feels that way. Social conservative groups want the law stopped, and it will take 500,000 signatures to let California voters decide the law's fate next November.
It's going to require hundreds of thousands of signatures to be gathered, but we certainly believe it's something that the people of California across the ideological spectrum want to see.
I have never seen anything unite parents. There's a movement. I'm calling it Parents United.
Stories about special rights for transgender students are cropping up all over the nation. A Wisconsin elementary school now has something called Switch It Up Day, where kids wear clothing of the opposite sex. In Colorado, a first grader who was born as a boy won a court case after being banned from the girls' restroom at school. Donnelly believes this is going too far when statistics show just 0.3% of people are transgender in America.
You don't have the right to violate the civil rights of 99% of the population because 1% of the population is suffering from a disorder.
But transgender groups won't stop pushing for equal access, even if many think they've gone too far.
This bill is 3 bridges too far. It's not 1 bridge too far. And they're burning the bridges.
David Brody, CBN News in Sacramento, California.
Nearly 1 in 10 American young people say they've committed some form of sexual violence, from forcing another person to kiss them or touching someone sexually, all the way to sexual intercourse. Those are the results of a study of more than 1,000 teens published in the Journal of American Medical Association of Pediatrics. Almost none of the incidents were ever reported. The study also found nearly half of the perpetrators blame the victim, and that those who carried out the sexual violence were more likely to have seen X-rated violent sexual media.
The cyclone that hit India this weekend was larger than Hurricane Katrina and stronger than Sandy. The Category 4 storm came ashore with 140-mile-per-hour winds, but thanks to a massive evacuation effort, the death toll so far is low.
Hundreds of thousands are now homeless, and the devastation is massive. Gary Lane has more.
The storm left a trail of destruction in its wake. Torrential rains left many villages underwater. Mud and straw huts were leveled. The loss of life was minimal. So far, with only 17 deaths reported. Fewer people died in this storm than during the last major cyclone that hit the area in 1999. That's because government officials learned lessons from the past. This time, nearly 1 million people were evacuated from the area several days before Phelan hit. Power outages have isolated many towns. Crippled communications are making rescues difficult.
Primary concern at the moment is to look for survivors. Communication has been crippled.
Not much is left of the small coastal fishing village of Padampeta. Fishing boats were tossed into houses like unwanted play toys. This woman, Buchi Ama, says when she returned to the village from a local shelter, she found her home had been destroyed. I started crying, she said. I have nothing to eat but puffed rice. The cyclone wiped out tens of thousands of acres of crops. Many agricultural areas are now unusable, flooded with seawater. The worst effects of Cyclone Phelan will be felt in the days ahead. Homeless and hungry, tens of thousands of Indians will need help. The CBN India Disaster Relief Team is on the ground in Gopalpur, where the cyclone made landfall. They're serving up hot meals to victims and relief workers. Medical clinics are now operational, and tarpaulin sheets are being provided to people whose roofs have been damaged. Gary Lane, CBN News.
An American Christian imprisoned in North Korea recently got a visit from his mother. 45-year-old Kenneth Bae was arrested last November and accused of hostile acts against the government. He is serving a 15-year sentence of hard labor. Bae suffers health problems such as diabetes and is currently hospitalized. In a video, Bae's mother, Mung Young-yi, is shown visiting him at a hospital where he's been held since August. The mother and son embraced and wept during their 90-minute visit. The visit did not guarantee a release for Bae.
Coming up, why money from the U.S. and UN could be going to camps that teach Palestinian children how to wage holy war.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy, totally free. Next time, I'll explain the simple truth about money.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Muslims are making their annual pilgrimage to Mecca, but fears of disease has many staying home. About 2 million Muslims are in the Saudi desert for the Hajj, an annual rite of prayer, fasting, and religious rituals. All able-bodied Muslims are required to make the 4-day trip at least once in their lifetime. However, there are about 1 million fewer making the trip this year because of fears of respiratory illness on the Arabian Peninsula.
The European Parliament has passed a resolution calling for Iran to release and clear the name of American pastor Saeed Abedini. He's being held in Iran because of charges related to his Christian faith. The resolution had broad support.
The Israeli military has sent a message to Iran, posting footage of a long-range flight exercise on YouTube last week. They posted this video of a mid-air refueling of a fighter jet. These drills have been done before, but the footage has been posted just days before Western powers opened new talks with Iran over its nuclear program. And that appears to be aimed at reminding Iran a military option is still possible. Israel views nuclear-armed Iran as a threat to its existence.
People have tried to destroy this time and time again. They've not succeeded. And we're not going to let the likes of the Ayatollahs succeed. The important thing is it's not merely an Israeli issue. It's also your issue.
What do you expect from the
and I think it's an issue for Germany. I expect them to do the right thing. And the right thing is not to fall into a trap.
The Israeli Air Force plays a central role in carrying out Israel's military option if necessary.
Well, imagine a summer camp teaching children how to make holy war against their enemies. It's happening at some Palestinian camps.
And what's worse, American tax money could be helping pay for facilities where these lessons on jihad are held. Chris Mitchell has more.
This clip comes from a 20-minute documentary exposing summer camps that encourage Palestinian children to violently take back their homes from Israel. The film also points to a connection between these camps and the United Nations. While these camps were not sponsored by the United Nations Relief Works Agency, or UNRWA, they were held at UNRWA facilities. Some say that makes the organization just as guilty.
لكن نجي بنقعدهم انه انت ايش بلدك ايش بلدك ايش بلدك.
احنا من حيفا. من يافا.
بصير انتماء اكثر للطفل. يعني بصير الاطفال هنا يعني بدنا ما بيخلي يعني حتى الان صار الولد عند الطفل او البنت انه صارت كثير متشوقه ترجع لبلدها الاصلي المعروف الممول الأونروا.
Filmmaker David Bedeen also points out that this UN agency is funded by the U.S. taxpayers and international community.
The director of UNRWA was in our office several years ago and explained that everything happening in the UNRWA facility goes on with the permission and authorization of UNRWA.
واحنا على البحر قاعدين مبسوطين احنا والعيله وجايبين الناس على البحر، اجى الديب. ومين هذا الديب؟ اليهود. صح اليهود ديب؟ شو عملوا لنا؟ شو عملوا اليهود فينا؟ طرونا وشردونا وقتلونا وطخوا اهالينا.
UNRWA takes care of millions of Palestinian refugees. In fact, the Palestinians are the only refugee group with its own separate UN agency. A spokesman told CBN News that UNRWA was not involved in the camps.
It isn't an UNRWA summer camp. It has absolutely nothing to do with UNRWA.
Further investigation shows that UNRWA allowed a third party to use the facility for the camps. Israel says UNRWA is still responsible.
They acknowledge that this happened, and they've discontinued relations with a third party who was using their facilities.
Foreign Ministry spokesman Paul Hershen says the West and the world should still be concerned.
And it's not the first time it's happening in UNRWA facilities. Even if it's not UNRWA itself who's doing it, you know, it's my money and your money. It's taxpayer money that's funding them, and you would think that perhaps they would be able to vet the organizations that they are allowing into their facilities.
UNRWA does not get money from the United Nations. It gets money from 38 democracies. The leading ones are the United States and the European Union.
At the end of the day, this kind of violent brainwashing is not helpful to anybody.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
For the latest on what's going on in the Middle East, make sure you check out our CBN News program, Jerusalem Dateline. It's now a weekly show. You can find it at our website, cbnnews.com.
Up next, a college student, a U.S. airman, and a sports broadcaster. What do they have in common? They're among the growing number of Christians who've been targeted because of their beliefs.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
An Alabama Police Department initiative aimed at lowering crime is under attack from atheist organizations. Operation Good Shepherd aims to send Christian clergy to crime scenes to counsel victims and witnesses. Members of the American Civil Liberties Union, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and American Atheists oppose the program. They say it raises constitutional concerns because it favors one belief system. The program director says the initiative is broad-based and not just Christian.
A religious liberty group says complaints against people of faith in America has nearly doubled in the past year. Paul Strand talked to some of the people who say they've been targeted because of their beliefs.
Unveiled at this weekend's Values Voter Summit, the new survey from the Family Research Council and Liberty Institute shows a frightening trend. Last year's survey documented 600 cases of religious hostility, and this year...
This survey that we're releasing right now is almost 1,200. So we've almost doubled in just 1 year.
One such case, college student Audrey Jarvis, who wears a cross, well, religiously, was asked twice to take it off or at least hide it at a student orientation.
My supervisor came up to me out of nowhere and asked me to remove my cross necklace because he thought that it would be offensive to incoming freshmen.
Jarvis received an apology from her college, but couldn't forget how hurtful the man was who found her cross so objectionable.
I think he was just kind of ignorant to the fact that his words could offend me in attempting to not offend somebody else.
Air Force Senior Master Sergeant Philip Monk says he got in trouble with his lesbian commanding officer when she ordered him to answer how he felt about gay marriage.
This is about religious freedom because I expressly stated that I had a religious conviction that wouldn't allow me to answer the question the way it was posed to me.
Craig James was 1 hour into a new job as a Fox Sports analyst when he was booted off the air. James and Liberty Institute insist it was because a top network manager disapproved of a statement James made about gay marriage 15 months before in a political debate.
They knew who I was, what I stood for, and I'm being punished. I was fired for my religious beliefs. This is not about me. It's not about Craig James. This is about an American who had a job that someone came back, a big corporation, and said, hey, we can't allow you on our network because of your belief and definition of what marriage is.
With some 1,200 cases like these documented in the new religious hostility survey, Mateer says he's frightened for his country.
The threats are increasing at a dramatic rate, and this survey demonstrates that.
Matt Staver's Liberty Council also fights for the faithful.
What we're seeing is instead of religious liberty being protected as it is affirmed by the First Amendment, people of faith, particularly Christians, are now finding themselves the target of discrimination.
Sergeant Monk says now is when Christians facing hostility must hold steady, mostly for other believers.
They need to see us stand firm in our faith. And when they see that, I think we'll see a turn of events.
Matir points out when believers fight back, they almost always win. So only by meekly accepting defeat will they let the enemies of religion triumph.
They've stated their objective is to remove God from our public life. Well, if we remain silent, then that's going to happen.
This survey certainly makes for scary reading because so many groups of Americans are attacked in it. Teachers, students, governments, businesses, senior citizens, all united by the fact that they face religious hostility in an America that seems ever more tolerant of this kind of intolerance. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Christians just get strengthened because it's getting worse and worse.
Indeed. We must stand up.
That's right.
Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
that parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing. If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
that parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
The Christmas season is hitting earlier than ever this year.
Indeed, and the guys from Duck Dynasty seem to be just fine with that. The Duck the Halls album comes out at the end of October. The reality TV family, famous for their beards and country ways, get together with country music singers to wish us a merry, hairy Christmas.
Well, we're singing lessons 101. I'm teaching this guy how to...
Show me how the pros do it.
Diaphragm from the diaphragm.
Smooth, too, man.
Like Jesus and Santa Claus, we got love behind these beards. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a happy, happy, happy New Year.
Hairy Christmas. Singers like Luke Bryan, George Strait, Josh Turner, and Allison Krauss joined in on the action. And as Willie says, nothing says Christmas more than big hairy men in Santa hats.
Oh,
that's true. That's really true.
I love it.
All right.
Well, that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Make it a marvelous Monday.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.